Hi everyone, and thanks for checking out another Incubus tutorial. Today we're talking about the song Rogues, and I will go through the entirety of the song and show you how to play it. Yes, even including that solo. I have a playthrough video of this song, and at the end of that video I go through all the effects that I've used and the settings that they're on. So in this one, it's only going to be a tutorial. I'm not going to be using effects or talking about effects. If you are interested in finding out what effects are used in this song and how I set them in my playthrough, I will link a card somewhere for you to watch that, and I will also put a link to it in the description of this video, and I'll pin a comment down below as well. There's a lot to cover for this track, so let's just dive straight into the intro of this song. Take it away, close up me. So this intro section is played with a dirtiest tone, and throughout this whole section the A and the D string are played open. So we start on the 2nd fret and we're only placing our first finger on the low E string. So we play this once before sliding up to the 8th fret, and we play through the same sequence 4 times. We then slide up to the 4th fret, play this through once like we did at the 2nd fret, before sliding up to the 14th fret and play this through 4 times again. Here that all is together slowly. So as you can see there as well, before I'm sliding up, I'm actually striking the low E string very quickly once more before you slide up. So you get that kind of slide sound as you're playing through. So next we start at the 2nd fret again, and we play through that once before sliding up to the 8th fret again and playing through that 4 times. Then we slide up to the 12th fret again, but this time we play it through twice before sliding down to the 10th fret and playing that 3 times round. So here's that last part played through slowly. And here are the 2 parts combined again slowly. So those 2 parts I just played make up the entire intro riff, and you play through that whole sequence twice before going to the next part, the pre-verse. Next we have a pretty fast picked riff that is played around a B-7 chord, and it goes like this. Now there are 2 variations to this riff, and I'll break each one down into chunks so you can easily see what's going on here. So we're starting at the 7th fret on the low E string, and using our 3rd finger we play this B note twice before hopping back to the 5th fret with our 1st finger and then quickly hammering back onto the 7th fret. Then we move up to the A string on the 5th fret before a little rest to finish this phrase off. Here it is slowly. Then we play the 7th fret again quickly 5 times before lifting our 3rd finger off to play the 5th fret with our 1st finger, and then hammer straight back onto the 7th fret with our 3rd finger before playing the A string at the 5th fret again. We then have some percussive notes and finish the phrase by playing the 7th fret on the D string and finally finishing on the 5th fret on the low E. And you can add some vibrato here. So here is that part slowly. And here are those 2 parts put together slowly. If that is still too fast to follow, I highly recommend using the speed function on YouTube to slow the movement of my fingers down as much as you need. Now this whole thing repeats again, but instead of the fast pick 5 notes on the 7th fret low E, we only play that 3 times and hold the note on the A string a touch longer. This is all played through 4 times, but on the last repeat, instead of playing the percussive notes and the 5th fret on the D string and the 5th fret on the low E, we instead pick the 6th fret on the A string and bend down as we're picking before we release to the 5th fret on the A string. So the bend is like this. So the whole thing put together is like this. this whole pattern is played twice before we go into the verse. So after that bend at the 6th fret, we go straight into this chord sequence. This starts on a G sharp diminished triad that goes to a G major triad before ending on a B minor bar chord. So we start on the 9th fret of the D string with our 3rd finger. Our 1st finger plays the 7th fret on the G string, and our little finger plays the 9th fret on the B string. Next, we simply lift our little finger and place our middle finger down on the 8th fret of the B string to make our G major triad. Then we bar across all the strings from the 7th fret of the low E down, and add our 3rd finger to the 9th fret A string and our little finger underneath to the 9th fret on the D string to make our B minor bar chord. Now Mike adds in a lot of percussive notes and rests here too, so I'll play it through slowly so you can see and hear what I mean. This repeats 3 times, and on the 3rd time we don't play the B minor for quite as long. Instead, we move up to a G7 chord like this, which is 2nd finger on the 10th fret on the A string, 1st finger on the 9th fret on the D string, and our 3rd finger is on the 10th fret on the G string. From the G7, we move down to an F sharp major bar chord. 1st finger bars across all the strings from the low E on the 2nd fret. Our 3rd finger is on the A string on the 4th fret, and our little finger is on the D string on the 4th fret, and our 2nd finger is on the G string at the 3rd fret. We then remove our 1st finger from the low E at the 2nd fret and move it to bar the B and high E string on the 2nd fret. This makes an F sharp over E chord. Next we move up to a D sharp minor bar chord. So that's 1st finger bars from the 6th fret on the A string down, 3rd finger plays the 8th fret on the D string, little finger plays the 8th fret on the G string, and our 2nd finger plays the 7th fret on the B string. Finally, we play a D major bar chord. So our 1st finger bars across all the strings from the 5th fret A string down. Our 3rd finger bars across the D, G, and B string on the 7th fret. Now don't worry if you can't sound that high E as you're pressing down. It doesn't really matter too much. Now that seems like quite a lot, but I'll play it through slowly so you can see the changes in the strum pattern. This brings us neatly into the chorus, which sounds like this. So we start with our 2nd finger on the 10th fret on the A string, and our 1st finger plays the 9th fret on the D string. This is implying a G major chord, but with just the root and the major 3rd. Then using our 3rd finger, we hammer on to the D string at the 11th fret, so like this. Then we bar across the A and D string with our 1st finger on the 9th fret. And this is making it a B5 chord before hammering onto the 11th fret on the D string again. Let's put those two parts together slowly. Then we play a D major bar chord at the 10th fret. So our 1st finger is barring across all the strings from the low E down at the 10th fret. 3rd finger plays the A string at the 12th fret. And our little finger is playing the D string at the 12th fret. And our 2nd finger is on the G string at the 11th fret. We strike through this twice before playing the 9th fret on the A string 3 times. It should sound like this. Now let's put all of that together slowly so you can see and hear the strum pattern. As you can see, on the 4th time around, you play the 9th fret on the A string 5 times to end the chorus riff before going back into the pre-verse riff. Make sure that you are muting the strings well here too. You don't want extra notes ringing out on these chords, or when you play the 9th on the A string. Once we have played through the chorus for the second time, it's time to stamp on some extra distortion and rip a solo. I'll break this up into chunks. So our first part sounds like this. So we start with our third finger on the 14th fret on the A string before playing the 12th fret on the D string with our first finger. We then do a half bend and release on the G string at the 13th fret before playing the 11th fret G string to the 13th fret G string and back to the 11th on the G string. It sounds like this. We then repeat that first part but bend the 14th fret on the B string and then play 12, 14, 12 on the B string, like this. And those two parts together. Next we play the 13th fret on the A string with our third finger, then the 12th fret on the D string with our second finger, followed by the 11th fret on the G string with our first finger. We bend and release the 13th fret of the G again before playing 11 to 13, back to 11 on the G string again. That sounds like this. So those first three parts together sound like this. For the last part of this first chunk, we play the 13th fret on the A string, then the 12th fret on the D string before going to the 13th fret on the G and back to the 12th fret on the D string. Lastly, we have a whole step bend and release on the 15th fret on the B string to finish the phrase and the first chunk. So slowly that sounds like this. And all of these parts of the first chunk put together sound like this. Now for chunk 2, we repeat the G sharp diminished to G major chord from the verse section, but we play them up on the 16th fret. So we start with our second finger on the 16th fret of the G string, first finger on the 15th fret on the B string, and our third finger is on the 16th fret on the high E. We then simply lift up our third finger and bar across the B and high E strings with our first finger to make the G major triad. The strum pattern is played like this. We then play the 14th fret on the A string, then the 12th fret on the D string before playing the 14th fret and sliding up to the 15th on the D string, like this. We keep our third finger on the 15th fret on the D string and add our first finger onto the 12th fret of the G string and play between these notes twice. Those last two parts together are like this. We finish this chunk with our first and third finger still on the 12th and 15th fret G and D strings. We add our second finger on the B string at the 14th fret. We play from the B string to the G and the D and back to the B before a string skip finishing on the D string. It looks like this. All the parts of chunk 2 combined sound like this. Now the last chunk uses an envelope filter effect on most of it. If you don't have this effect, I wouldn't worry too much, and I'm only going to show you the notes played and not worry about effects in this tutorial. If you want to see my cover and breakdown of effects for this song, there is a card at the beginning of the video, a link in the description box, and a link in my pinned comment below. The next little part starts like this. So we start on the 15th fret on the B string before jumping back to the 12th fret on the D string. We do this twice before playing the 15th fret B string note 2 times before coming back to the 12th fret D string, like this. Then we simply jump up to the 16th fret high E and play the same pattern, but between the high E and the 12th fret D string. It looks like this. And those two parts put together look like this. After this, we slide up to the 18th fret on the B string and play a chromatic rundown until the 15th fret. Make sure you're using your middle finger for this. This is how it should look. We would then turn off the envelope filter if you have one on and play a small chord on the 15th fret on the B string with your middle finger and the 13th fret high E with your first finger. We play this 3 times before adding your third finger on the 15th fret high E and strum twice. And finally add your little finger onto the 16th fret high E and play that twice. So it should sound like this. We finish this all off by playing the open low E and the 3rd fret on the low E 3 times. We add a little bend every time we play the 3rd fret on the low E as well. It should look like this. So here is all of chunk 3 put together. Now the very last part of the solo can be as simple or as complicated as you would like it to be. On the recording it sounds like just a fast tremolo pick note on the 9th fret of the D string, like this. Again, make sure you're muting the strings well there. You could add a wah pedal to this to spice it up, or you could add a wah and the Dan Electro real echo if you have it. Again, I have a whole breakdown of this in my cover of this song, so if you're interested in that, check out the links in the description in my pinned comment. So after we've blazed through this crazy solo, we finish back on the chorus riff and end on the 9th fret D string, playing it 4 times. And there we have it. That is how to play Incubus Rogues. Thank you for joining me on this one, and if you're curious about the gear that I've been using, it's all linked in the description down below. If you'd like to support my channel on Patreon, there you'll get exclusive tutorial videos just like this one, and all the tabs for every Incubus song that I have covered so far. That link is also in the description of this video. And finally, if this video has helped you, hit that like button, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye, my friends.